The hotel elevator refused to close, while Elisa Lam pressed every button she could reach, staring into the hallway like someone was standing there, just beyond the camera's view. Less than an hour later, she vanished into the upper floors of the Cecil Hotel, and the only thing left behind was footage of her, trying to hide from something no one else could see. Late evening at the Cecil Hotel, Elisa Lam returns alone to the hotel room, after spending hours wandering downtown Los Angeles, while the receptionist quietly watches security monitors behind the front desk. Inside her room she becomes unsettled, after hearing footsteps stop outside her door several times, but every time she looks through the peephole, the hallway is empty. Around 11 p.m., Elisa goes downstairs to ask the receptionist whether anyone else has access to the 5th floor, because she keeps hearing movement outside her room. While speaking to him, she suddenly stops mid-sentence, after noticing someone walking towards her, in the reflection of the lobby glass behind her, but when she turns around, nobody is there. A little later inside the elevator, Elisa notices the doors behaving strangely, reopening seconds after closing, even though nobody is entering from the hallway. As the elevator repeatedly stops on different floors, she becomes visibly uncomfortable, each time the doors open to silent empty corridors, with dim lights flickering at the far ends. Near midnight, Elisa returns to her room and begins hearing water running, somewhere above the ceiling despite being told the rooftop maintenance area is locked at night. When she tries sleeping, the sound continues directly over her bed, until she suddenly hears heavy footsteps moving above her room. Minutes later in the hallway, Elisa leaves her room carrying only her room key and phone, after hearing quiet whispering outside her door. While walking toward the elevator, she repeatedly glances behind herself, as if someone is following close enough to hear her breathing, but never close enough to see. Inside the elevator, Elisa becomes increasingly distressed, as the doors refuse to close for nearly an entire minute, while she anxiously looks into the hallway. She briefly steps outside, peers around the corner as if trying to avoid someone unseen nearby, then quickly returns inside after reacting to something beyond the camera's view. Shortly before midnight inside the elevator, Elisa presses multiple floor buttons, before retreating toward the back wall, while watching the hallway outside. The doors refuse to close for several seconds, forcing her to repeatedly lean out and check the corridor, until she suddenly reacts to something unseen near the elevator entrance, and backs away with visible panic. Elisa slowly steps out of the elevator, into the empty hallway as though trying to calm herself. She later begins making uneasy hand gestures, as if explaining something to someone, standing just outside the elevator. Moments later she abruptly walks away from the elevator, toward the upper floors, and after the doors finally close behind her, she is never seen on security footage again. Days later, hotel guests begin complaining about low water pressure, dark-colored water, and a strange metallic taste coming from the sinks and showers. Maintenance workers are eventually sent to inspect the rooftop tanks, after repeated complaints continue spreading through the hotel. On the rooftop, a maintenance worker opens one of the water tanks, and finds Elisa floating motionless beneath the black water, in complete silence. Security footage never shows how she reached the roof, why she entered the tank, or what caused the fear visible in her final moments, inside the elevator. Long before Elisa Lam disappeared, the Cecil Hotel had already become known for unexplained deaths, disappearances, and guests reporting the same feeling of being watched in its upper floors, making her final elevator footage feel less like an isolated incident and more like another pattern the hotel had quietly repeated for decades. Follow and share if you believe Elisa Lam's final night inside the Cecil Hotel was connected to the building's disturbing history, and comment whether you think the hotel itself was influencing what happened long before she ever entered that elevator.